During the Normandy campaign, the Sherman Firefly was, objectively, the only Allied platform capable of reliably turning a Tiger and Panther into smoking hulks at combat ranges. Yet this lethality was bought with engineering reality checks that the crew had to endure daily. The British solution to fitting a large gun was to simply ignore the gun's true orientation. By rotating the 17-pounder 90 degrees, it was brilliant, in a desperate sort of way, for cramming the gun into Sherman's small turret. The massive horizontal breech didn't just dominate the turret, it held the traverse spears hostage. Watching the Westinghouse motors struggle against that moment of inertia could be a lesson in 1940s overworked mechanical engineering. To feed the beast, the assistant driver was unceremoniously sacked. This replaced one crew member with a wall of 15 extra shells, but it left the Firefly much weaker in close-quarters defense. The officially approved A-30 Challenger was such a mechanical catastrophe that a rogue project like the Firefly became the British Army's best hope. The Firefly succeeded by being just barely functional enough to work. To prevent the loader from being decapitated by the 17-pounder's recoil, designers simply walled him off. He loaded shells in a private world of high-velocity brass, unable to see, touch, or hear the rest of the crew. The Firefly's intercom system was designed for the quiet halls of a laboratory and was predictably non-functional the moment things got loud. This turned the loader into a sensory-deprived passenger. Once the wires frayed under concussion, he wasn't part of a crew. He was just a man trapped in a metal box waiting for the next order. If the isolation didn't get you, the chemistry would. The loader's station in the hull sump acted as a natural collector for carbon monoxide and nitrogen oxides. He is fighting a tank duel while simultaneously being slowly gassed by his own weapon. Ventilation for the loader's station was more of a suggestion than a reality. Eventually, modern tank designers realized that crews perform better when they aren't living in cages. The evolution to the Challenger 2 represents a radical shift, treating the crew as a coordinated team rather than just necessary biological components of a tank. It only took half a century to decide that hearing and seeing was a good idea. The 17-pounder's 15-foot barrel was a battlefield symbol of British engineering, especially when compared to American Shermans with their short guns. It was highly visible to every German gunner in a 3-mile radius. Being the most dangerous thing on the battlefield is all well and good until everyone decides to shoot you first. German Panzerjäger were trained to prioritize the Firefly with lethal battlefield intuition. In a rare moment of British subtlety, Firefly crews tried to trick the Germans with a bit of paint and blue-white countershading. Surprisingly, it actually worked, buying crews precious seconds to fire before the ruse was up. The Firefly's desperate struggle to not be seen eventually birthed the modern science of digital camouflage. We've moved from hand-painting barrels to multispectral mats that hide thermal signatures. The 17-pounder was perfect at punching holes in German tank hulls, but its high-pressure, high-explosive shells were rather pathetic. Because the shell walls had to be very thick to survive the high-velocity firing, there was barely room for any explosive filler. When it hit the target, it didn't so much explode as pop rather unimpressively, making it a bit useless against anything that wasn't made of thick steel. The 17-pounder's muzzle blast was equivalent to a small earthquake, kicking up enough dust to blind every friendly tank in the troop for 30 seconds. This led to a doctrine where the Firefly sat at the back to avoid obscuring friendly tanks. By the time the 20-pounder and the legendary L7 105mm arrived, British tanks finally stopped making specialty compromises. They reached a point where a single gun could eliminate a Soviet main battle tank and an infantry squad. It's the end of the jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none era. To fit the 17-pounder, the British simply deleted the bow gunner and welded the port shut. This left the commander to juggle radio duties, spotting, and tactical command, while the loader wrestled with oversized shells. cramming a massive gun into a Sherman had drawbacks, including causing the crew to be permanently exhausted. Fitting the 17-pounder was less about integration and more about an aggressive home invasion. To prevent the gun from breaking through the rear of the turret, engineers shortened the recoil stroke, which transferred the violent kinetic energy directly into the turret ring. Although the Firefly's muzzle brake solved the recoil problem by redirecting high-pressure gases laterally, it kicked up enough particulate matter to be visible from far away. The Firefly could penetrate a Panther's glacis, but an entire Panther company knew exactly where the Firefly was. With the rest of the crew effectively flashbanged by the gun's dust cloud, the commander was the only functional optical sensor left. This necessitated unbuttoning and turned the commander into the most valuable target in a sniper-rich environment. Modern bore evacuators utilize a simple pressure differential to ensure the crew doesn't share the propellant's fate. Comparing the Firefly to modern tanks highlights the shift from viewing the crew as a disposable biological component to treating them as a sophisticated processing unit. The bustle extension was a frantic cut-and-paste job to accommodate the 17-pounder's breech and radio. This left the loader in a workspace that violated every known law of ergonomics. When the ready-use rounds were spent, the loader became a spelunker, diving into hull racks while the turret rotated constantly. The Firefly's rate of fire didn't just decline, it underwent a scheduled collapse. Manhandling 15-kilogram projectiles in a cramped, oxygen-deprived steel box is a recipe for diminishing returns. The chart represents the point where human metabolism fails to keep up with the technical specifications of the ordnance. Removing the turret basket meant the loader lived on a different planet than the gun breech. Standing on the static hull floor while the turret traversed around him required a level of spatial awareness usually reserved for professional dancers. The evolution to the Eastern-style autoloader was the ultimate admission that the human loader was a bottleneck. By moving the ammunition to a mechanical drum with blowout panels, designers finally addressed the human fatigue variable. It's a cynical solution that if you can't make the tank comfortable for the loader, simply replace him with an autoloader. The Firefly was the ultimate stopgap before the arrival of Comet and Centurion. It proved that you can indeed win a war with an ergonomic nightmare, provided your gun is big enough. It was a desperate, brilliant, and deeply flawed solution that prioritized a tiger-killing shot over the crew's ability to see, breathe, or move. Thank you for watching, and see you in our next videos.